Hello, FewCandy here, and welcome back to Solitude. Now, I have done a couple of fixes since the last episode, so I have moved the level crossings on the railway junction that were literally in the middle of the rail tracks. We fixed that one, thanks to those of you who spotted that. And we have also turned that truck around from the farming episode, finally. It's done, it has been fixed. It is now pointing the right direction for the truck on the front of it. So coming on to today, of course, we are going to be starting our beachfront town here. So we'll be focusing on an element of the beachfront and the main town centre around the railway station and behind that. But before we do come on to that, we do need to add a high school to our city because we're yet to put one in. So I'm going to be concentrating on that first in this little area next to our park in the first district and the commercial strip here, filling it in between the road and the rail tracks. And that'll just make sure that we have got educated citizens when we start to put in more commercial and potentially even some offices. Then we'll have some more educated citizens to meet their needs. But before we do anything today, let's just take a little look at the district name for our first district. Now, I know I asked for your suggestions, but I had completely, unwittingly, totally forgotten my promise to Bradley Stanton that we would name the first suburb after him. Thank you so much, Brad, for your insane super chat at the end of Oregon. We do now have Bradley Stantonville as our first starting suburb in here. So you can see where I've placed the district in around Lucara Farm. Thank you so much for all of your support, Brad. It means the world to me. So for our high school, let's of course start by just giving ourselves some road access here. And like I said, we are going to squeeze it in between the road and the railway here next to this commercial. We'll leave a nice little gap of greenery in there. So we'll bring this out here. Just like that. And I do want a road that's going to extend behind these trees. I probably brought that slightly too far. So let's just grab that node and move it. If we hold Alt, we'll keep that nicely in line and just drag that back to where we want it to go there. And let's not forget to come in with node controller and turn off those crossings as per the rest of our little suburban area here. I'm actually going to use the European high school for this, although this is very much not a European build. I think it gives the right vibe for this area. It's sort of low in height compared to the other high schools, not as bulky, and reasonably big as well. So I think this position next to the cricket field, next to the park here, looks pretty nice actually. But we are just clipping onto the railway tracks there, so let's just drag this back a little bit closer to the road. We'll just be mindful of that hedge there. Of course, I'm probably going to bob pretty much everything off this because this is not the type of high school playground design that I want for this area. I don't think it's very fitting at all. So let's grab Bob, and we're firstly going to go into our trees here and we're going to remove all of those. We're just going to hit this button and then the green tick. That reduces the probability to 0 for that particular item, hence removing it. Same goes for the bushes. And then let's go back to props, and what we do want to do is those high table sets. I'm going to remove all of those. Going to take the tiles, remove all of those. Street clock, don't want that in the middle, get rid of that. Benches, don't want those. Pretty much all of the props from this back area we don't want. So we've got street lamps here as well. Do we have any around the front that we need to be aware of? No, so actually we are fine to remove all of those as well. And then coming onto the hedges now, I actually don't, I think, want to remove this one around the side there. Actually, no, do you know what? I'm going to change my mind. We're going to remove all of the hedges. So basically, we've got an entirely bobbed high school here with none of those assets in the back. So we can do what we want with the sort of playground, schoolyard area at the back. I won't call it a playground for our high school students. I've kept in this little bit of fence in the bin because we can use that. We can detail into that, so I'm fine with that there. So what I do want to do firstly is actually surface paint in this entire schoolyard. So we're just going to concrete it over just like that. And then we're going to add in some nice little props here. And I'm wondering if we do go for a basketball court, how far can we get it away from the road? Can we drag this park into the back of the schoolyard and it still be connected? No, is the answer. So what we will need in order to add this in is going to be a road connection down the side. How can we get it in just here? No, that's incredibly annoying. I've just noticed our bus stop is right outside here. So let's actually just shift this over down to there, and then what we will do is grab our plain concrete road and we'll just give a very simple back kind of connection into the school here like that. And what I'm thinking actually to sort of help settle this in a little bit better, let's grab one of our parking lots, or a couple of them in fact. Yeah, and we can squeeze those in here. And of course let's do a bit more bubble work on our basketball court there and get rid of those horrendous vanilla trees. We don't want that. And then that leaves us with actually quite a nice little basketball court in the back of the schoolyard here. Now, I also do want some shelter for our students, shelter them from the sun, which I feel like would be quite important here. So we could go for a very large shelter like this. I think that's a little bit overkill for the high school. So let's go for some smaller ones. Let's just add in 3 like that, because then we can go ahead and add in some benches underneath this. I'm actually thinking maybe the round concrete campus tables. Yeah, these would go quite well actually with the sort of square edges of this shelter area here. So let's add in a load of these under the shelter. So just like that, does quite nicely I think there, to give them some shade and somewhere to sit. They've then got the basketball court. And then what I'm thinking is we want a couple of other buildings in here to make it look like additional school buildings. So I'm thinking potentially one of these office buildings. We could go for something slightly smaller, but it looks very, very modern for the area that we're going for here. That one's not too bad. Kind of goes with the building a little bit. So let's place this in. Let's just grab it with Move It and see if we can place this in nicely here. Now we are very, very close to the edge. So we could, of course, adjust our basketball court over just a little bit. So we've still got room for people to walk down there. Then if we go ahead and grab all of our props, let's just shift them over again so they're slightly more central there. We can get back to this building and yeah, we can place this quite nicely on the corner here. That could be like an additional school building. I actually don't like the colour of that, so let's just reset the object with Move It. See if we can get a slightly lighter colour. That's not too bad. That's not too bad. Definitely sort of looks like it could be a modern block of the school added on there. But we definitely want to get rid of those signs, so let's go back into Bob and we'll find the logo there and let's just remove that. In fact, if we reduce the probability of it, there we go. And then that means that when we place this office building in again, we can still get that office logo if we want to on a different version of this asset. Kind of useful there. And then I'm thinking with this central area, I might actually add in a little bit more shade here because I feel like they definitely want that in the school. And then we also have these gravel planters that we could use to decorate up and add some trees in the middle, which will add some nice shade again around these. And we can add in a couple of regular benches, I think, underneath those too. Yeah, I think we'll get some nice shady umbrella thorn trees in there. And then maybe on the bottom we do just want a little bit of kind of grassy type area. So maybe this one will do nicely. Just a little bit of extra greenery in the bottom of the gravel area there. Gives us a nice little planter. Now I'm noticing with the school we've got a large hangout marker right in the middle. So with Bob, let's actually just shift these all over. So if we go into the individual props, we can find the hang around markers. So there's one there, that's fine. There's one out the front, that's absolutely fine. We'll go around to the large ones. That one's okay. This one could do with being moved over. So let's just shift this to there in front of that building. Oh, we forgot to press tick. There we go. And then with this last one, let's also just shift this over a bit with X. So I think we'll come down here, down to this side a little bit. There. We'll click tick on that. And then that means that those people aren't going to stand in the middle of our flower bed, hopefully, or they should less do that at least. So that'll be a little bit nicer, I think, there. That's a kind of general shape, I think, of the main school building there. And of course, one thing we did forget is with spawn points now. Amazing update. We can now drag this. So it is now on this road here, which is insanely, insanely useful. But what that does mean is with our office buildings where it's further away from the road, all the services can still reach it to service it, so it shouldn't be complaining. It should still function as normal. So I did actually decide to swap out that office building, having realised that there was this asset that was far more suitable and looked a lot more like the actual school building itself. And bobbing off the signs, I realised there's an owl on it. So I actually left that because I thought that was quite appropriate for a school there. But I think this one looks an awful lot better with a bit of recolouring to make it blend in really nicely. So I decided to change up the road going down the side of the school to a parking up road to add additional parking in. I feel like that would be needed in this area. And then down the back here, I decided to squeeze in another playing field, actual football, soccer pitch. So really, when looking around Google Earth, I'm finding that a lot of these places with lots of mountainous regions really utilise all of the flat land that they can. So for something like this sports field really needs to be on flat land. So down here in the bottom of this valley, it feels like they would utilise all of the space possible around the rail tracks for recreational spaces such as these that really need that and require that. So that's what I decided to do in here. And you'll see me use Network Multi-Tools to unlock those concrete paths and change them to a gravel path, fitting our theme an awful lot better. And then I'm also finding with the dirt decals that they work really nicely for blending these roads and paths into the rest of the environment. And because I've got grass sprites on this theme, which I think is needed for that kind of overgrown look and feel, using the dirt decals underneath the grass creates a really nice effect, like the grass is sort of poking through and trying to grow through the dirt and the gravel that people have put down. So really, really like how that looks and feels in Solitude. Okay, so moving on to our town centre, I firstly want to focus on this area around the station, and Ben had a great idea in the comments of putting a marketplace outside here, which also corresponds nicely with a suggestion from one of my Patreons to have an open air market with lots of different stalls mixed in too. So thank you so much to the Patreon who suggested that, and to Ben for the idea. So let's go ahead and implement that. Now, I know someone else suggested they thought parking would be appropriate here, but actually what I'm going to do for station parking, so we have got some outside the front there, I'm actually going to go ahead and add in one of our big parking lots over this side, which I know seems maybe a little bit weird, but what we're going to do is add pedestrian access across the railway from this car park through to the station, which is actually almost exactly like it is in my hometown in the UK, so I know this is a thing that can happen in stations. So I think this would look quite nice here. So let's go ahead and grab our path, and I think we might use the gravel path for this because the raised one actually looks pretty nice. So what we'll do is we've obviously got our fence in here, although we're missing a bit of fence there, which is just marvellous. We'll fix that later in the detailing, but let's grab our raised gravel pathway here, and we don't want to go up too high with this. We might have to go up to there, but then I think what we can do is actually lower this down just a little bit from this position. We'll come across the railway just like so, and then we'll go back down to home and just bring in our path connection this side. Now, this is raised slightly off the ground, which is a little interesting there, so we'll just drop that back down. And then we'll connect up this path with a bit of pavement path this side. So we're obviously going to get that little gravel pool, but that's fine. We can cover that up with some surface painter in a second. So we'll just pull that across like that for now. And then let's just lower these bridges just a little bit, so they're not clipping with the wires there, but they're sitting just nicely above those train lines. So yeah, I think that will be absolutely fine. I'm thinking with this road as well, we'll upgrade it to one of the concrete roads so it sits in a little bit nicer with the car parking here. So we can move that right up and that concrete texture all kind of blends in together, which is, yeah, not too bad at all. And then with this, I will continue to extend this out further this way. So let's actually just pull this node up a little bit like that. And then we'll run this road. Let's turn off snap into nodes. So we're not stepping into the railway or anything there. And we'll run this road up alongside the railway. Because then we could do a small amount of industry in these spaces here. You will notice as well, I did plop in the bus station over here, although I'm not like super duper thrilled with its placement, but in general I think it's okay. And I think what we will do actually is upgrade all of this road so it feels a little bit more industrial from this point onwards into that concrete unmarked road there. So we'll place that in there for now, and then we just done some smaller other industrial buildings for here. And I'm conscious of rubbish collection. We've only got one recycling plant and we've turned off our incinerator for the time being. What I do have off the workshop is my favourite little district recycling hub, so I think that would go pretty appropriately in this area somewhere too. So we'll just pop that in there for now and then we can arrange them in a second. Then let's come back to our industry buildings, and looking at the ones that we've got from the workshop, I think quite a few of these would fit in nicely here. So like definitely this bigger one. And I think what we'll try and do is piece these together into a bit of an industrial yard here. So yeah, just a few industrial buildings placed around here, and I have also added in these little trafo stations. Are they meant to be transformer stations? I don't know. Maybe trafo station is actually a word, but I've added in a few of these down here just to add a little bit more electricity. They only produce 5, so it's kind of slightly less than a wind turbine, but gives us a little bit more power. And also these as well, which only produce 5, but I kind of thought that looked quite nice, like a little sort of it's sending power to the rail where they haven't got the catenaries running over these level crossings. So I've got one of those at either end. Quite liking these little towers actually. Yeah, really quite enjoying them. So I've added some brush tool around just to give our surface a bit more cohesion, but we'll come around and do a lot of detailing around that later on. But let's now focus on our marketplace. A key for this as well, because I figured like we definitely want to provide shelter for this. I'm imagining a lot of people are going to be gathering around this marketplace here. So what I'm thinking is we're going to add in these shelters. So the whole area is essentially going to be sheltered like this. So let's just come in a little bit further. We want to try and get this right in the middle of this block here too. I'm going to turn off linear fence fill so we've just got a nice even number of them. We can go slightly further this way. I'm trying to get this centre block lined up right in the middle of the station, because what you'll see is I'm going to delete out this one, and then here what we're going to do is add in a footpath. Just a basic concrete one which will cross this market area like that. And then with no controller, let's go ahead and add this as a crossing, and then likewise here too we'll add in a crossing there, and hopefully that's moved those nodes. And then this one we can just grab move it and we'll just shift this over so it's all nicely aligned up together. And we have got a tram stop there as well, so we don't want to forget that. We just moved that and it screwed up the stop, but it will be absolutely fine, it will fix itself. But what these shelters give us is a really nice kind of like open still but covered space and a little bit of shelter from that blazing tropical sun for all of our market stall workers and all of the visitors to the market as well. So what we are going to be using for this is, now obviously we've got our little green cities market stall, so let's go ahead and dot in a few of these. We're going to place them all nicely in a second, but we'll just get in a random load of those around because we'll want to incorporate those. The other ones we can use are these little shells as well from Green City, so again let's have a few of these dotted in around too. There are some variations, so we'll have a couple of these glass fronted ones rather than the ones with just a little bench in the middle of it too. And then on top of that, if we come into high density commercial, we'll go to 1x1s. We've also got these nice little food things. So let's again have a couple of these dotted in around too. But we really want this to be a very mixed area. So lots and lots of mixed assets. So I have also got from the workshop these low density market stalls. Now they're kind of old and they look a little bit different to everything else, I will admit. But I think we can blend these in quite nicely. With a little bit of effort here. So we're going to dot in a few of these, and what we're going to do is arrange these all in a second so it looks a little bit more cohesive and natural. I'm thinking like some of these market stalls, you've got like useful things here. So like the basket stall, I definitely think you'd find that in potentially a market like this, in this sort of environment, in this sort of country. Nice little florist's stall too. We can add that in. Now they are pretty tiny compared to some of the other stalls, but yeah, again, I think we can help to make these blend in. And of course we do also have the beach restaurant from the tourism pack too, so let's go ahead again and add in a couple of these. I think that'll be quite a nice touch. So what I'm going to do now is go around with Move It and like really pack these in. We may need to add in some more assets for this too, so we'll see when we come to that. I'm actually going to turn this around. I think that makes more sense onto the path like that. What we want is kind of lots and lots of market stalls all packed in like this together. And then some barrels and boxes and things like that behind it where the market stall workers are going to get their produce, get their stuff and refill their little market stalls. That's what we really want here. So I'm really pleased actually with how this looks with the shelters running all along it. It's like when you come out of the station, if we just go down to almost a first person view, You get this big market, kind of covered marketplace in front of you. You can walk on through, and obviously lots of the trash and the crates in the middle there, which I quite like the effect of. And of course we've got the little bar on this end as well with a bit more shade to help those little sitting sims out, protect them from the heat there. Yeah, pleased with that. So it is time now to move on to the beachfront, and we've got a whole lot of work to do on this. So for today's episode, we're going to be concentrating on this section here and kind of filling up back to the station this side, and then we'll be coming on to what we do down this end of the beach and next to the beach in the next episode. So firstly, what I would like to do is add a little bit of a beachfront road to this. So we're going to actually go ahead and use the gravel rural road. And we're going to use the parallel road tool, and we're going to go from there through to here if we can. Like that. We'll click tab to switch the side. And yeah, I do want this up really, really close to this. I'm thinking maybe just a tiny gap versus that. So let's just move it out just a little bit like that, and we'll hit enter. That'll be easier to get our roads in. And as you can see, because the beach is quite gentle sloping down, it's not added too much of a kind of negative cliff texture effect to this section here. So let's then get out of network multi-tool, and we'll just go ahead and join in these connections. So we've got this kind of nice, it looks sort of sandy, but gravel road heading out onto the beach there. Now these are a little a little bit close with those textures like that, so I'm just going to drag it away very, very slightly at either end so it's less severe in terms of the change of that texture, and it blends more with the concrete like that. And then along here we can start to place some assets. So the big one that I do want to put in here, which is one that a lot of you shouted out as well in the comments and had Patreon suggestions on this. But yeah, we've got the pretty new realistic functioning beach asset, which I do want to try out down here. So let's go ahead and add in a couple of these and see how it goes. And I think we probably will extend it round a little bit either side. So we'll just go like that. Now, the one thing with this is that it does have parking on the beach. So if we go to Bob, you can see we've got these invisible parking spaces, which are all on up next to the beach. Now, we've got all the parking along the road, so I'm a little bit reluctant to have people parking there. So I'm actually going to remove that so that we don't have cars kind of parking on the beach there. They can park on the road here. There's plenty of spaces for them to do that. And then what it gives us is the ability to put some more assets along the top here. So I've got some pretty cool ones for this. We've got various different little bars, like this little octagon thing here, which I think is pretty cute. It makes quite a nice little entrance onto the beach there. We also have what is possibly one of my absolute favourite assets, which is this tiki hut bar. I definitely want to add in somewhere. Now, obviously the terrain is going to be a bit of an issue with this. We might move this further away, drop this down a little bit and see what we can do to just smooth this out. So yeah, that I am broadly happy with. And of course, because we've got grass sprites on, they kind of poke the sand a little bit. I don't mind it too much, but we might need some odd trees and things like that around just to make it make sense a little bit. And around this asset, I do have these really nice beach umbrellas that I definitely want to add in here. Let's turn off snapping so they get on the ground. We're going to have a few of these in, and we'll spin them round with some tables underneath around this beach asset. Now, it is overlapping with the top of, obviously, the realistic functioning beach here, but I am okay with that because we've not got the parked cars here, so I think it's absolutely fine for what we're wanting to do here. Then we'll just grab some tables and put them underneath. And what I am thinking, I use these picnic benches quite a lot, the nature reserve ones. Maybe the round ones are better here, although I'm not really too keen on the colour of them. They're a bit dark. So let's just go into Prop Anarchy and see if we can change this up a little bit. Yeah, we can make it lighter there, which I actually really like. So let's go ahead and place these in, and then we can copy that colour. And if we just use the picker to mark the park table function within Move It, and then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and marquee all of those, and then we can change their colour as we like. So we'll just make them that little bit lighter, sort of blends into the beach a little bit better there. And of course, let's adjust the spawn point on this as well. So we definitely don't want the trucks coming in there. So I'm thinking let's just add it to this junction over this side. So we can put it there, and then we'll just spin the angle a little bit so I can kind of come in from there. And I definitely don't want parking on this beach road, so let's go ahead and ban all of that from this road, so we haven't got parking along it. I just wanted it really to line it, because then I have got some odd props that I'd also quite like to use in here, like these little like beach sort of saily props. So we could definitely have a few of these along the front here, so let's just put in a couple like that. And what we do need to do with these is turn prop snapping on. And then if we grab them, we can just hit page down with move it, and we can just sink these into the ground a little bit to get rid of those concrete bases. Just like that, which I quite like. And again, we probably want a shelter over this. I would imagine that the people working in it would probably want a shelter. We could add something like this, which is quite tiki hut-like. We could just go for the metal shelter here, which I feel like is probably a bit more appropriate here. I think to go alongside it, let's just add in a couple of tables for the workers, which look like ridiculously large compared to those inflatable things, but yeah, that'll be fine. I do also have in our tree assets some pretty cool little signs here too. So I definitely want to add some of these in. So we've got like, we're open sign. So I think we'll have one of those here by the bar, just so they can see that. We've got a sale sign. That feels quite appropriate for our inflatables. So let's go ahead and add that in here. We've got another open sign here as well. Now these are actually trees, which is kind of weird, but they do the job. They do the job of a prop, so I'm absolutely fine with it. We can put open there too. Now down this end there is a larger asset that I want. Oh, we can see the people using the realistic beach function already. That is pretty cool, because when I tested this, there were crowds so big that I was thinking I might bob off actually the people spawner hang around markers, because they were just way too big. But that's looking a little bit better actually, thankfully. I'm kind of okay with that. Yeah, and they do literally go right into the water along with their dogs and are actually submerged here. Maybe my beachfront isn't quite long enough for these assets, but yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, there's lots of crowds gathering. Yeah, I'm quite liking this so far. And I do have other assets that I want to add, like this little beach bar here, and I'm thinking that this might be appropriate for this corner. We just extend that out like that. I'm wondering what, yeah, it would be better the other side actually, so let's swap this with the octagon bar here. As you can see, that sand looks literally horrific. So what we will do is, of course, lower this down, and yeah, I don't kind of mind it being sunk into the ground too much. We can use a little bit of proper concrete to smooth out that surface and a bit of detailing, help it make more sense, but I actually don't mind that. I don't mind the slope down into it, and then it means that our beach is reasonably nice and level. We could even go a tiny bit further there to get rid of some of those grass sprites. Yeah, so you can just see the top of the building as you come down towards the beach, which I quite like the effect of there actually. That's the kind of general theme of what we want along our beachfront. I will be adding in more props rather than the functioning beach as we go around this corner. I don't want it too crowded, so I'm going to keep my eyes on the crowd, and I may bob off the large hang around markers if it gets too much. At the moment it's like, it's alright like that. What I do love about this in particular is that they do actually use the deck chairs, which is like the coolest thing ever. But also if we use Bob to add more deck chairs to these parks here, they will also sit on those. So that is pretty exciting indeed, and I'll probably do that. I'll probably add a few more deck chairs further down the beach, because we've got enough room here to have a few more in, I think. So I think it'd be worth doing that for sure. Yeah, so great to see them using it, even if they are just like sitting on the side, kind of uncomfortable looking. And look, see here, we've got the cards. Oh my god, we've got the... Yeah, this is what happened when I was testing it. Wow, we need to sort out that node there, because that car went absolutely ballistic. Although that one seems fine. Yeah, this is a problem. I don't want the beaches this crowded. I definitely don't. They're bringing in far too many people, I think, for my liking on this beach. Like, I want a few speckled people like this, not like hordes and crowds. So, wowzers! Did you just... Oh my god! Did you just see that? I feel like Travis Jesus Brown has come to Solitude and worked some magic. I have no idea what happened there. We've clearly got some dodgy nodes, so I'll go through and have a look at that afterwards. I think it's this one. I think we're just too close. I don't mind it curving out a little bit. Same goes for here. I'd imagine that this one's going to have the same issue. So let's do that. and see how we get on. And yeah, this beach is filling up too much now. Like, I really actually don't like that. So what I am going to do is go to Bob, and there's so many large hang around markers, it's actually ridiculous. So I'm just going to reduce the probability of them to, like, I'm thinking maybe even 25%. We'll click tick there, and then we'll see how we get on with that. They're all going to go to the middle and disappear into a massive vortex of absolutely nothingness. Yeah. This is a fun asset. We do also have other fun props that we can play with here, like this little lifeguard tower. I definitely want to add a couple of these in, so we will be adding those in around the beach periodically too. I'm thinking like fairly high up probably, actually. Maybe that one's slightly too low. But we'll go for that. And same goes for over here, but we'll be coming onto this end of the beach in the next episode. So what we do want for our main waterfront now is to go through and select some commercial for this. So we're going to want some low density commercial. We don't want anything too big for this, but obviously more built up than our Bradley Stanton district. So we're looking for kind of small hotels, small bars, regular shops, a few offices. We'll probably use quite a few of King Leonard's malls for this as well. So if you haven't got that already, please do check out my instant gaming link in the description below. Great games at really discounted prices, and it goes to help support the channel too. So my focus really on the selection of these assets was very much on having quite a mixed bunch. So I wanted some modern buildings and some older looking buildings, lots of cafes and bars and kind of tourist leisure facilities as well. So King Leonard's shopping malls, the cafe assets and the rooftop bar assets were absolutely perfect for putting it along the waterfront here, mixed in with some of those more modern mall assets. And also incorporating some of the Art Deco hotels and the cinema along the waterfront, I think gave a nice effect mixed in with these. I didn't want anything that was too bulky in height, because really the effect I wanted to go for was like this was an old beach town, and then suddenly the tourists found the island and lots of kind of new modern buildings popped up and old buildings were torn down, but some of those old buildings remain. So mixing in just some of the low density generic commercial assets in with this as well, I think gave quite a mixed vibe to the commercial around this town centre here. And again, just focusing on nothing too bulky. You will see later on in this time lapse that I do come in with some taller high density residential towers at the back, which I wanted to kind of use because I wanted this town to feel relatively built up but still small. Like, this is not the main downtown of the island, the main city of the island. This is a smaller beach town, but a little bit of a tourist hotspot. So I think having those towers helps to give it some kind of importance, but not giving it too much height and too much stature across the whole vibe that the island will have. So the detailing in and around these buildings was really just kind of a lot of, honestly, concrete. Because in these areas, in this type of environment, they would definitely concrete over all of these surfaces to stop the rainforest overgrowth from growing up from the earth. And we've got lots of palm trees and planters lining the streets as well, because again, being a touristic place, I think they would use palm trees as decoration in these areas. And we do come in with a bit of backstreet detailing amongst the commercial too. Only very small, low-key little areas, trying to keep with the vibe of the whole town, nothing major. And of course, please do let me know your name suggestions for this beach town in the comments below. I would love to take one of your suggestions. We may put it to a poll if we get a few good ones, but yeah, something fun and quirky that fits the Solitude vibe would be great, so let me know. So that does it for the start of our first beachfront town here, and of course we'll come in next episode and fill out the rest of this town centre, also filling in lots of residential in the surrounding areas around the town before we move back to some cool hillside builds. And don't forget to drop me a comment and let me know your name suggestions for this town. I'd also love to hear what else you think should be around the coast near this town as well. But if you have enjoyed this episode, likes, comments and shares are, as always, greatly appreciated. And thank you so much for all of your kind words so far on this series. But that is all from me for today, so thank you so much for tuning in. Stay tuned for the cinematics and I'll catch you again next time. Bye bye!